What up, everybody? Welcome back to the Nashville Unsigned podcast, The News. I am hanging out with my business partners, Nick Brown from Chinatown. I am Amber Soman, Jared Rigsby.
What's going on?
And Patrick Lonnie.
Howdy.
Thank you, guys. We are covering all things digital and music news and giving you guys the 411 on the independent community. Get on over to YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and search the news on Apple Podcasts to download this episode. We are straight chilling like villains, and we are going... Actually, don't forget to weasel on over to www.nashvilleunsigned.com.
It's true.
Make your profile, because that is your digital music community in itself, and our socials. Duh.
Yeah, especially if you got a band, submit your band, try to get featured on,
Hashtag join the movement.
Yeah, join in. Come have some fun. All the movements.
I know. So there's been a lot that's gone on lately. We've been at Top Golf, a.k.a. the Cowan, a brand new venue. Thank you, guys, at the Cowan.
Amazing.
You guys have been awesome. So big shout out to them. Make sure any and every time they put on shows, you guys go. They have great shows that they're putting on. We just so happen to be plugging in some alumni as well. Oh, yeah. So
here and there.
But lots of cool Nashville Unsigned news going on right now. What did I miss? What else is happening?
Just shows everywhere, like out the wazoo. We can't even keep up with it all. But,
shows, festivals.
That's what Nashville's about, man. That's what I love about it.
Yeah.
Shows all the time. Weekdays. We go on a Tuesday night. We throw down on a Tuesday. Just whatever.
Shows going up on a Tuesday.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it crazy.
But if you guys are not a part of the digital community yet, get on there, because we will keep you fed on what shows to go to so you don't waste any money or waste any time on the best of the best. Also, we do the networking events inside of our shows, so make sure that you get in at the moment. What is it, like a $5 cover? We charge a $5 cover.
Yeah.
So get it to these shows, because it's a good way to meet music-based businesses. I mean,
Bring your business cards.
Right. Yeah. What do we have, people from 30 Tigers and from Round Hill and from a slew of others. Justin Timberlake's camp.
Oh, yeah.
WME showed up hot one night. So some really cool music-based businesses. So you guys definitely have to get out. But we're rolling in today to kind of chat with you guys about building your community. So building your community, your fan base, your peer base, your music-based business networking base, I guess.
Yeah, we really want to
tribe.
You
gotta get your tribe together.
Your tribe.
Yeah,
build your tribe.
Your fan base is your community.
Yeah.
It's it starts with your mom, right? Then it goes to your
Mom's
close friends.
Oh my God, Becky, you can totally do this.
Exactly. Your mom believes in you. You go to your close friends, and then it's where you go from there, right? You know how it goes. I'm starting something new. Everybody get excited about it. And then it's you have a couple of people, hey, go you. Yeah, right. So what we're doing is taking you through the steps to get past that and get fans. But fans that feel like friends.
Right.
But definitely I think it's really important what Jared says and what Amber says is, start off with, I know it sounds ridiculous to say my mom or my uncle or whatever, but who's more liable to spend money on your career or to help you out than people that really care about you? Yeah. So, your roommates, the other bands that you're playing with, a lot of people use sidemen in this town. What other bands are they playing with? Those are the people you need to kind of start your community.
Yeah.
I think an artist typically moving to Nashville is okay, where do I start? Where do I start? So kind of the places that I feel you should start, and you guys can chime in. First and foremost, get out to shows, because shows they're not only going to be your peers, these are going to be other musicians and artists that are fighting to get to the same places you guys are. But also there are going to be fans at those places. There are going to be music-based businesses at those places. So get out to shows tomorrow. Yeah. So get out to shows tomorrow. Speaking of which, we've got some friends on some bills for the next couple of weeks. So if you see our post on our socials, get out to our alumni shows. But get out to the shows. Secondly, go have coffee with everyone that you picked up cards from. Yeah. Because outside of the family, it'll start to be your long distance family, your family here in Nashville. So you're sitting down with coffee, building the following to you personally as a brand.
Yeah. And it's we're always talking about your digital community, and that's super important. Obviously, you need to do both. But it's important to not forget about the real community, the people that you're in touch with, who are like tangible people in front of you that you meet in the city, right? And and when you go to shows, that's like a first step in that right direction, right? You have your socials going, you have your Facebook, your Instagram, your Snapchat, and you are like just killing that, and that audience is super engaged with you. Now go find them in real life, and if you engage with them in person, I think it's gonna like multiply that factor by hundreds.
Yeah, and one of the things that Jared is saying that I think is a really important thing to kind of point out. One thing that I've learned is when you're on stage, you're promoting your own band. When you're off stage, start asking questions about what other people do. Instead of rolling up on people and saying, hey, I've got a band, I've got this, and they'll find that out. But people are going to be engaged with you if you care about what they say and what they are. But also, the other thing a lot of bands miss is they miss opportunities because they roll up on somebody and they spend 5 minutes talking about themselves, and then, well, now I've got sound check, or now I've got this, or I've got that. And they walk away having no idea that the person that they talk to might own a company that's in line with your brand, or heck, they could be a publisher, right? But they just never got a chance to say anything. So ask questions about what other people are doing. This town is filled with people in the industry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so strategic too, like networking for the people that are new to networking. It is such a strategic process. Like if you go in too soon, if you start offering up things about yourself too soon, then you shoot yourself in the foot. If you don't ask, then you shoot yourself in the foot. So there's a process in which like rolling up on somebody and being like, here's my business card. Like immediately someone associates what you just did as being a sales pitch. Like do not, actually, I almost would not even throw out your business card until right before you leave that person.
Yeah, well,
like throw it out right before you leave.
It's more of an opposite approach. Really what you want to do is you want to talk to this person, understand what it is that they're actually looking for, and then align what you do with what they're currently looking for. And from that point of view, then you actually made a connection. Otherwise, you're just stroking your own ego in front of another human being.
And then they're turned off by it. They're turned off by your stroking.
Yeah, it's like a sales pitch. Yeah.
Ironically enough, they're turned off by your stroking.
Right.
Yeah. So the more
it's basically a conversational selfie. You've just done.
Yeah, really, you want to just learn about them and then align your skills with what they need.
Yeah.
For instance, hey, Nick, I noticed you were at this show or whatever. My name is Jessica from Gibson Guitar. I realized that you play in a band and you play a guitar. And at that point, Nick would say, actually, yes, I do play a guitar. This is my favorite guitar. And it just so happens to be a Gibson, even though it's really probably not.
Yeah.
The best salesperson is the one that owns everything. And so then at that point, Nick found a common ground between the Gibson rep and himself and his skill sets, and found a place that they could live together. And at some point in today's industry, that could get you an endorsement. That could get you a sponsorship. Not only, I can't stress enough, an endorsement and a sponsorship should include more than just product. Like, yes, you are getting free product, but we're in a day and age of social influencer marketing. And you are indeed a social influencer. So that is an example that meeting the Gibson guitar rep and you're a guitarist could actually pay off for you.
Most definitely,
Yeah.
Sorry for the role play.
It worked out great. Well, it's like you also fuse those things together, right? You have like, you're out and about, you want something to post on your Instagram, your Facebook, some live video feed of what you're doing, that
outside of your selfies, right?
Outside of your selfies, right? But like, hey, I went to this really cool show in this, from this artist who's in my genre, and it's like you're within that community, one way or another. The same people that are gonna like certain artists are gonna like certain other artists that are similar to them. People tend to fall in those camps of those genres. Like me, I love rock music, so like, and that can span to a ridiculous amount of genres, right? Like, especially nowadays. but it's that connecting fiber that like I'll run into similar people at certain shows. I'm like, oh hey dude, like I'm not even meaning to network. Like
Yeah.
you know, you don't even think
you just
about
fall
it.
under the same community.
Yeah, there's something very natural, I think, and like organic about it. Just like step away from the computer. Coming from a digital marketer, step away from the computer, and I think you'll find a lot of fun with the craft too.
I think the opposite of community is comparison. So if you're comparing yourself to another artist, you're not supporting that other artist, and they're probably not supporting you. The quickest way, and we say this all the time. What do we say? Like the rising tides
Raises all ships.
Raises all ships. So if we're all jumping in, so our events, our alumni is all showing up. That's 90 artists plus bands. That it's even more with all the band members. But if we're all showing up to these things, it's this movement that's happening. So instead of you sitting in a corner and sulking because so-and-so got something that you thought you should have got, and then you're not going and supporting this artist because you're comparing yourself, you're going to get to your destination spot a lot slower than most.
Yeah.
So comparison is the opposite of community. If you want to be in a community and cut 5 years off of your 10-year life in Nashville, which Nashville is considered like a 10-year life, like it's a 10-year town. So you're going to break in 10 years. You spend 5 years finding your community. So if you learn to stop comparing and start jumping into more shows, you'll probably build your community a lot faster.
Yeah. You know what I think is going to be interesting outlook on this? It's going to be totally fake, but the CMT show, have you guys seen the new the previews for
the
it's like
thing?
It's like The Hills, but for like some Nashville based artists.
Oh, I did. And actually funny enough, none of those artists as grassrooted and on the ground as Nashville Unsigned is, we have not yet heard of any of those artists.
It's really bizarre to watch those.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure they were uprooted out of LA and moved into Nashville for the specific
You're like,
TV
wait,
show.
who are these people?
Yeah.
Because everyone in our community, friends, alumni, everyone is like, who the fuck are these people?
That being said, it'd be fun to see them out. I'm like,
I know.
hey, it's those TV people.
I know.
Yeah,
we're like,
that's the
yeah.
hilarious thing about reality TV because it's the exact
Adam.
opposite of like reality. You know, it's like
You're like reality TV, but it isn't reality at all.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like
We're gonna-
the Hills in
fictitious.
Nashville.
reality.
Yeah. We'll welcome you. We'll welcome you guys.
I know.
If you show up to one of our shows, just
Talking about community, so we've got physical community. You've got your networking, you're going to live shows, and then you've got a completely different realm that is the digital community that we kind of talked about earlier.
Yeah.
So we started a little something called the Unsigned community on Facebook. If you guys missed previous episodes, we kind of talked a lot about groups and how to put your fan bases in groups, and then how you skip past any algorithms by being inside of groups.
Mm-hmm.
So I think first and foremost, starting into a digital community, like start your fucking Facebook group, damn it.
Yeah.
You know?
the digital community
And Twitter, yeah.
is really
You-
fascinating.
Twitter?
Yeah. People build up massive communities on Twitter, and I have to admit, I'm a little jelly because, like, for real, like, if you start any project and you've got, 10,000, 20,000 people on Twitter, then you have yourself a live audience that you can just say, hey, guys, I just did this one thing. And you just pull in, 2% of it, and you got, 4,000 people or something like that? I mean,
Yeah.
come on. You know,
Something
it's like-
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fucking Trump. No, I mean, seriously, that was dying. Twitter was dying not that long ago, and then all of a sudden. But anyways,
it's great
we're
for
going to get out of
marketing.
politics. We're going to get out
It's
of politics.
great for marketing, though. It's so
It is.
like twitchy. It's just like hashtag go.
So what are the benefits of creating a community on Twitter?
Well, I think the biggest thing is people are interested in you, like your personality, your takes on things. And if you establish that niche that you're speaking to, and then you really build that initial group that understands where it is that you're coming from, then you have yourself a permanent audience. You can go and do whatever. You can, try to make a new
Sell dildos.
pillow, like a My Pillow or something, and you could come out and, it'd be perfectly fine because you've already got, a captive audience of about 2,000 people at least. You know,
Yeah.
I mean,
Talk about
that's
pillows.
Yeah.
talk about super comfy. I love sleeping on this
Go
thing
ahead.
every
Get
single
on there.
night.
Put your
Like,
head on there.
single
Go ahead,
oh
put your head
my
on there.
God.
Look how comfy that is. Put your
You
head on
know,
there. Rest it on
honestly,
there.
like my dreams have been better since I've started using this pillow. It's really weird.
I
Like,
laid off of melatonin. Just saying. Cut back on my sleeping medication.
actually, yeah, that's true. I no longer take medication, and my profits have doubled since using this pillow.
And it's doctor recommended, by the way, guys. Doctor recommended.
I think one of the things that's important about like finding your community and something like that is, you know, when somebody's trying to build a brand of what they represent, you know, you say, what's your community? And most people go straight to, well, my community is the music community, right? But I think as an artist, well, everybody's part of the music community.
We all get
right?
ears,
So
man.
Yeah.
there are other things that you have to, you know, think about. And I think that when I look at branding, the way that, you know, what I was taught from my experience is that when you look at branding, you say like, okay, let's look at an artist. And so you should look at yourself as an independent and say, there are, let's say, 1,000 things that make me up, right? And what you have to do is you're not trying to sell yourself completely because nobody can know a 30-year-old in 2 seconds, right? But what you go through is you say, hey, what are unique? What makes me unique? Maybe it's number 345 tied to number 472 and number 635. And each one of those things are communities. If, you know, you're a heavy metal band and you happen to like Renaissance fairs, that's a community, you know, and that might be number 210. So you take those, a couple of those communities and sew them together to create a brand. Yeah. And that's what you start to pitch. And then as you start to build a community, then you can start pulling back the curtain on some of those other numbers until you have like a huge brand that's basically fabric that's pulled together from a bunch of different patchwork of different communities. If that makes
and it's really fascinating how it's this concept of there are other people like you, what you're presenting to the world. There are people that are going to dig it, and like now that we're all so connected, that's a demographic, you know. So that's something that you can actually pitch your stuff to, and people are going to be like, oh yeah, I'm into that too.
Yeah.
Like Renaissance metal, like. You're right. There's a
There's a market
huge
for
crowd
it.
for that, man. You go on YouTube, like, because I'll listen to some of it too, because I love metal. But it's like, yeah, it's fun just being a nerd, you know. And there's millions of other nerds that are willing
Jared
to buy
would
your
know.
product.
Jared would know.
Well, it's like taking a personality test and saying, here's the quadrant of people that liked this number question and this number question or whatever. Here's a group of people that liked these questions and a group that liked these questions and a group that liked these questions. So being able to know, I think what Patrick was saying, finding the key points of your brand about yourself, but you're not the filter. Like, you cannot be the filter. You have to go move that filter through somebody that is a music expert or that is a branding expert or somebody that is not you because you deciding what your key characteristics or branding opportunities are, it's probably not the right person.
You're
to
the
decide who
only
that is.
person in the world who doesn't know how you're received,
Yeah.
but only as you put forth, right? And so you always have to go up to somebody and trust them and say, hey, how am I being received? And everybody thinks they know how they're being received. Whatever.
I know.
it is,
She's like, oh my God, sweetie, I think you're the best. You should try out for American Idol. You should try out for American Idol. I'm just saying.
A really trustworthy
Speaking of
friend.
which,
You'll tell me.
pass it around. Pass it around. Pass it around.
Mid break.
Talking about community. This is how you build community, boys and girls.
Cheers.
Go to shows. You drink with other people. That's the thing. That's the thing.
We don't drink at shows. I mean, typically, like, you'll find us with a drink or two, but we're over there like running shit behind the scenes. I know he does. He'll be drunk at a show, but I'm like running around like, oh my God. Me and Leslie, shout out Leslie Schultz, event coordinator, helping us with Nashville Unsigned. We love you. You're awesome. You make our life so much easier. But running around and not thinking about all of that, you're like greeting everybody, talking about community.
Yeah.
In those times when you're the facilitator of that event, you should be the person kind of running through the event saying, oh, I know what you do and I know what you do. You guys don't know each other, but you guys need to know each other. Hey, Nick and Jared meet each other.
Right.
This is what you guys do. I'm going to go run around. You guys talk. I'll be back. If you guys are making out when I get back, no big deal.
No big deal.
And when those people go off and do something great, you weren't there. You didn't have to put much effort into it or whatever. But there is a part of it that, meeting of Jared and Nick that will forever be pinned to Amber because she was the person that connected you to. And I think that, everybody's out there looking to be connected to somebody. If you want to make it in this town, somebody once said something. I said, if you want to make it in Nashville quicker than you would if you were just here focused on yourself, come into Nashville and help other people make it.
Yeah.
And then that's how you'll make it, And I think one thing that's really interesting is about like Nashville Unsigned's community and how we have
It's built like that.
We're built that way, is to take the patches of communities of these different artists, and regardless of genre, saying we are all in this fight together for one reason, man, and that is to raise awareness of independent music that is grade A for discovery, right? And so basically, for those of you who might be new to the Nashville Unsigned, that's what we are. We're kind of like an independent music fraternity where we invite artists that we have curated as some of the best of the best. You can submit on the site. We tie them together, and then we're basically creating a tide ourselves that's like ready to wreck some shit.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about how that's built is even if you're not featured doesn't mean you're not in the community. You're still in the community. Like we take all the ones that have not been featured, that have shown interest or wanted to be in the community or believe in the cause or whatever. We take them and they're in the community already. And then we take the community and pluck the curation from the community, actually. So the community is actually the powerhouse behind the featured artist, behind Nashville Unsigned. So even if you haven't been featured yet, doesn't mean you'll never get featured. Actually, some new things that we're rolling out is if you are wondering as to why we didn't feature you, we'll consult you as to how you can raise your brand in different areas. So we go through and put in the community and put in the featured artists, and all of them live in one place, and ourselves and music-based businesses. And then it's a thriving, again, I hate to say it, community. It's a thriving community that we don't need to go outside of this community
This clique,
to get the
this
resources
crew.
that we need.
Yeah.
The unit.
Yeah.
One thing I want to point out, everybody that does sign up for Nashville Unsigned, you actually end up with a public page that allows you to, add all the links for your different social media and then also share updates for your music. And unlike Facebook, this is actually searchable. It's indexable by Google. So when people search for your band, if you're having a hard time coming up in specific circumstances, you can actually submit to Nashville Unsigned, and over time that will end up being a search result for your band specifically,
which will help people hub to your socials.
Yeah. So you can send them wherever you want. It's not about bringing them to us. It's so much as showing them who you are and sending them to the other socials that you have. So it is a very beneficial thing to sign
Guys,
up.
Nick Brown.
Yeah.
Nick Brown, ladies and gentlemen.
right.
Nick Brown. Nick Brown.
But speaking
Actually,
of,
honestly, I didn't even know that.
there it is. But speaking of that community and that kind of presence, consistency. Let's talk a little bit about how important consistent interaction with your fan base. I put quotes for those of you who aren't watching or whatever you're doing.
Bunny ears.
Yeah, I get the bunny ears. As opposed to I forgot what I was talking about.
Well, I'll jump in and then I'll jump in with something. So
We got hung up on
community,
bunny ears.
Jared was talking about consistency and how you have to stay consistent.
Welcome back.
I think that there's
Welcome
two
back.
parts. I think there's two parts of that. We keep talking about like on the sidewalk and then in the cybersphere.
Yeah.
And I think that consistency, everybody knows about consistency of social media. Like, hey, I have to be posting once a day or twice
We
a day.
think everybody
We
knows.
think everybody knows. Right. But it's a hot thing. Like, make sure you're always posting, once a day or something like that. It kind of circulates. If you don't know that, then just Google how to be effective
Google,
on social media, and it'll be everywhere.
What is it? socialmediaexaminer.com. Get on that. Okay,
There
keep
you
going.
go.
That's a
Sorry.
good one. Good resource.
One of the other things that I think is changing, and I'm kind of watching it happen right now with the band that I'm working with, but a lot of artists out there believe that, like,
Nice plug.
hey, Well, I didn't say the name of the
I
band.
know, I'm just
so-
kidding. I'm just kidding.
If you go out there, a lot of artists think that like, oh, let me play every like 6 or 7 weeks, and the reason that I want to do that is because I want to fill the room, right?
Yeah.
But then you've got 150 people in the room every 6-7 months. They probably, or 6-7 weeks. They probably all know who you are already. So maybe there's 15 or 20 people there that night that didn't know you. Well, who are you doing that for? It seems to me that you're doing it for you and your ego to look at a room of 150 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, if you're playing every single day, think of the social impact of that, right?
Oh, yeah.
You might only be playing to 30 people every single day, but there's probably 5 or 10 people that you didn't know. So
Yeah,
in
definitely.
6 weeks, you would have accrued
Yeah.
a ton more followers if you understand how to convert socially, collecting email addresses. So consistency also hits the sidewalk as well. It's a new model that a lot of people think don't be too accessible, but I think it's a mistake.
Well, that's what the thing is like the whole like playing 6 to 7 weeks. That is a Music Myth Monday. You will find it
Yeah.
on our social media on Mondays, and you get to drop your music myths in our comments below. That is a music myth, is that you have to play every 6 to 7 weeks to be relevant and to draw a crowd, because you become stagnant or complacent. And so that's not the case. Like you need to play as much as you possibly can.
Yeah.
If you're playing every single day, that's fine. You're getting more reach on socials
Yep.
than you are in the physical world.
And if you know how to
Don't look at
convert,
the physical
yeah.
world. Stop looking at the. Don't completely stop looking at the physical world.
Virtual reality.
Don't-
Neo
don't-
yourself
don't.
into like
Don't Neo
the Matrix.
yourself. But you've got to stop looking at your 20, if even 5 people that showed up to your concert. Well, if 5 people hit a fan base of 100,000 per, then you just hit 500,000, 500,000. Like that's
Right.
insane. So you have to stop looking at your room of 5 people as being discouraging. It's not.
Yeah, I come from a marketing background, and what I end up talking to a lot of people about is exploratory marketing. And it's why focus on the comparison. It's why focus on this one show every 6 or 7 weeks, when really you could be playing more frequently to a more diverse crowd. So you can actually explore and find new audience members in a niche that you may not have considered previously, just by playing more frequently and then in more diverse settings.
Yeah, and let's not forget the kind of elephant in the room here that, hey man, you are refining your craft if you're playing once every
Yeah.
day,
Oh, yeah.
rather than every 6-7 months, like
Yeah.
rehearsing for a single show and go out and playing. Like you're gonna find things while you're doing that.
Oh, yeah.
But one of the things that I say all the time is, as an independent artist, how much money do you want to make? And people will say to me, oh, $100,000. Great. Do you realize you have to get 1,000 people, only 1,000 people, to spend $100 on you a year, and boom, you're there.
Yep.
Right? So start making a goal of how do I convert 1,000 people? And if you're playing every day and picking up 7 to 10 people every day,
Yep.
well, that's 10 people a day. That's what? It's 100 days
Maybe you
is
should
1,000
shoot
people.
for 150,000 to cover overhead.
Sure. I mean, that would be amazing,
I'm like,
right?
go ahead and cover your overhead.
Yeah.
Right?
But collect those fans, man. Like, where were you 3 years ago?
Yeah.
If you were doing that, converting every single day for the last 3 years, how much following would you have today?
And there's more ways than just downloading your tracks, man. There's the merchandise. There's a million ways in which you can, get people to, pay for things that you are offering in relation to the music. So
Going all the way back to your community.
Yeah.
Once your community's built, you can sell them anything.
Yeah.
Once they're built, you can sell them vinyl. You can sell them T-shirts. You can sell them hats. You can sell them concert tickets, festival tickets. You can sell them branded dildos.
And
Pop socket.
yeah.
which,
By
by the way, can set up a perfect
Patreon.
Patreon account, right? So you have your audience.
Tell people what Patreon
So
is. 'Cause
Patreon-
actually, a lot of people don't know
So
what
like,
this is.
yeah, Patreon is a crowdfunding site for content creators, right?
Oh,
they
boy.
set up like a monthly subscription with a tier set, kind of like Kickstarter, but on more of a monthly basis.
And
It's
that's like
a
a
lot of
monthly
YouTubers do this.
subscription that
Yeah.
says, like, I want to pay, I believe in this project. I'm going to pay $50 a month, directly deposited out of my account because I believe in the content that they're creating, right?
Right. And you set up a tier system. You give access to your album, access to your shows, get creative with that. Once you already have a crowd, like most of the work is done for your crowdfunding, for your Patreon account.
Yeah, it's like a digital magazine subscription.
Yeah.
Like you get a magazine, you like what its niche is, you like what they got going on, you want to support them. You want it to not end.
Yeah.
So, in a digital sense, the solution is Patreon.
Right.
So you go to Patreon and you can do, various amounts of money all the way from $1 to, whatever you want to do.
Mhm.
And then you actually get to support these people and in a meaningful way that continues the content that you enjoy. So, I mean, it's huge.
It's great. It's great. And the CEOs are great too. If you guys didn't catch our previous episodes, their CEO made a mistake by going in and charging a monthly fee for all Patreons and actually recanted that email and that statement the day after because of values and morals.
They got tore up.
Huge
Yeah,
lash.
I'm like,
Backlash.
what a great CEO to
Right.
pivot like that.
Well, to
I don't
listen.
know.
In a day.
All
In
brands.
a
All
day.
brands bend the knee.
Got to.
All
Got
brands.
to.
Hey, Apple
gotta
bending
get
the
on
knee
the- all
to
brands
Taylor
bend.
Swift.
They
all
all do.
brands get on their knees is what they're
They
saying.
do. Take of it what you will, but they all bend the knee.
Anything else you'd like to say, Nick?
Everybody bends a knee except for Jon Snow.
I know.
Would Jon Snow bend the knee? No, he wouldn't.
In Game of Thrones.
But
I mean, even Boys to Men is down on bended knee.
yeah. Oh, boys, just sorry.
I love it. I love it.
So, anyways, that's a place for your crowd to go. If you're like, okay, I have this crowd. How are they going to spend money on me? Like, nobody's buying CDs. I get so much money for streaming, blah, blah, blah. Patreon.
Yeah, Patreon.
Is a
I
go-to.
think another good one to start building your community without money. You got to start it without money before you start it with money. But Facebook, dude, get on a Facebook group. Shout out to Bishop Gunn. We've put them on several shows. We have them on our next class as well. They are just killing the game right now. No label, booking agent, just absolutely killing it. But they created a group called, their band is Bishop Gunn, and their group is called The Gunners. And they've got like 500 maybe in the group, but also actively engaged. You could literally sell like a toothpick, a branded, it didn't even have to be branded. You could sell a toothpick in the Gunners and you would make a lot of money off of it just because it's a super actively engaged audience. So get on Facebook first and foremost tonight when you see this episode. First, subscribe. And secondly,
Please.
make sure that you create a Facebook group and get clever with the name, because if you call it something to do with whiskey, we're going to punch you in the face when we see you in public. I'm telling you, we will punch you in the face. We love whiskey, but we will punch you in the face when we see you.
Finish him. No whiskey.
Well, guys, that was it for our episode of Building Your Community, the news, Nashville Unsigned. You guys get to our events, you little assholes.
Yeah,
We love you, but you're being little assholes. Get to our events.
they're pretty good. Get
on the website, www.nashvilleunsigned.com. Get on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn.
Google
Actually,
Plus.
We're going to Google Plus.
The events are
Google
everywhere.
Plus.
Pinterest, maybe?
Eventsy.
Pinterest and Spotify. We got a Spotify
We
playlist.
actually, we
Yeah.
have a Spotify playlist. Thank you, Oh Nino, for the music. We love you. Good heart, good soul. We're out of this bitch. Somebody take this. Somebody's taking it. Drink it. Somebody drink it.
Put it down. I think Nathan did it.
Oh, our producer, get over here. Hey, keep the music running. Keep the music, do it on camera.
Get in there. Yeah.
Show the logo.
Shout out to Casey. Tripod Studios.
Thanks,
Tripod
guys.
Studios.